the term Bangkok Camo came up because I was just in Bangkok, Thailand. I was at Ratchadamnern Stadium. I was watching the fights first night. And I look over and I see a guy wearing this shit. I'm like, man, this person looks like someone I know. It looks like Bobby Peak from Texas, from Ambush Muay Thai. Like, this looks like Bobby, but Bobby wouldn't wear a bucket hat with glasses and elephant pants and an elephant shirt. Like, no way in hell. Unless he's trying to, like, you know, not be recognized by anybody and be low key. So I'm sitting there watching the fights. I kept looking over. I'm like, man, this has to be him. I saw him. I'm like, no, that can't be Bobby. And then eventually I saw him again. I just said, hey, Bobby? Turned over. Sure as shit is Bobby Peak in fucking Bangkok Camo. All right. So Bangkok Camo represents a stage where you've seen the surface and you're ready to go deeper. If you've ever been to Thailand, you already know exactly what this outfit means. All right. Elephant pants, elephant shirt. This is what one of our friends, he actually dubbed it Bangkok Camo. Most people see it and just think tourists, right? If you've been to Thailand and you see me wearing this, you're just like, look at this freaking farang out here in elephant pants and elephant shirt, right? No locals wear this. All right. It's purely like a tourist thing. So, you know, if you only see the surface of this too, all right, this is like a surface level thing. If you're scrolling past and you're just seeing this and it's just the surface, and you probably think podcasting might work the same way, right? For a Pu'u Muay Thai podcast, because if you only listen to clips, you just kind of get that surface level and you really just miss the whole point and context of what a podcast is. All right. This wasn't a highlight reel year. Like what we did for Pu'u Muay Thai wasn't just highlight reel stuff. And the numbers actually prove it where it comes into the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast. So what surprised me most in 2025 wasn't just how many people actually listened to the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast. It was probably how they listened. All right. So let's go into total downloads. All right. So across 2025, the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast logged 41,381 total downloads. All right. So I want to just chime in on this real quick. Total downloads. What that means is that's people who listen to our podcast every single week. All right. People who've downloaded an episode of the podcast. This doesn't include like our, multi-million plays, everything we've got on across all of our platforms. All right. This is downloads. No viral stunts, no gimmicks, no like controversy baiting on any of this stuff as well. Just long form conversations week after week. And that number matters because it's not flashy, but because of where and how it showed up. All right. So this wasn't just a local podcast. We're not just a local Muay Thai podcast. Let's talk a little bit on the geography and who we target through Pu'u Muay Thai. Let's break down right here. So in 2025, listeners came from over 60 countries, with the top being, of course, the United States. We had 26,770 downloads from USA. This one, funny enough, Australia. Shout out to my Australian listeners with 2,236 downloads. Next up is the United Kingdom, the UK. All right. 2,152 downloads. And then we have Canada coming in at 1,729 downloads. All right. And then coming behind, surprisingly enough, is Germany coming in at 927 downloads, and followed up next, Thailand, the motherland. All right. With 914 downloads. And in Singapore, 703 downloads. Sweden, 668 downloads. New Zealand, 631. In Brazil, oi, bom dia, Brazil, 533 downloads. That tells me something very important about our podcast. All right. This isn't just an American audience. This is a global Muay Thai conversation. It's a global audience, and you are a part of that. And people like you weren't just listening to check in once. You stayed. All right. And that means the world to me. All right. So now here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the top cities for the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast. So top cities in 2025, Los Angeles, California, United States of America. All right. Coming in at 1,660 downloads. Next up, Phoenix, Arizona, where our Pu'u Muay Thai podcast is at 776 downloads. All right. Next up, Oxnard, California. We're next to Ventura, 708 downloads. Melbourne, Australia, 609 downloads coming from Melbourne itself. All right. That's coming up like what? 1/3 of our listeners in Australia. That's pretty dope. All right. Next up, Singapore just lumps in 569 for the whole country. Singapore, Ventura, California, which is actually less than Oxnard, California at 546. All right. Next up, Honolulu, Hawaii Aloha to my listeners in Honolulu at 539. Next up, the country of origin, Bangkok, Thailand, coming at 478 listeners. And funny enough, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, coming at 434 downloads. All right. Bangkok being on that list really matters as well for anybody that's in this. That means that the source of the sport is listening to long form conversations. And this is where Muay Thai is coming out of. And people who are from the source of Muay Thai, the Hollywood of Muay Thai, they're listening to a podcast in Arizona, in USA. All right. And that's not accidental. That's trust built through years and years and years of networking and conversations that go in with the Muay Thai podcast. All right. So if all you heard were short clips, or you were like scrolling through here on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching this at, or if you've been just listening to audio clips, all right, you would have missed what actually defined 2025 for the Muay Thai podcast. You would have just missed it. So let's go in. Episode 186, running a Muay Thai gym in 2025, the hard truth. So this was a great episode. It wasn't just motivational content. This is one of our top listened pieces of content, by the way. This was reality, staff burning out, profit margins, responsibilities as a gym owner. That episode alone explained why so many gyms struggle quietly and why they don't post about that online. So shout out to all the Muay Thai Academy program gym owners that are out there. Episode 214, it's not about fashion. We talked about, which is very funny. We talked about Muay Thai shorts. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here in freaking, elephant pants and elephant shirt, right? So we talked about uniforms, wearing Muay Thai shorts, tradition, and why culture isn't decoration. That conversation hit home for a lot of listeners. A lot of people got turned up on this one. Like, I can't afford Muay Thai shorts. Man, if you're spending $150, $200 on a gym membership for training, go spend $20 on a pair of Muay Thai shorts. Simple enough. All right. So this is at home in the US, especially in Thailand and Australia. This was a big episode for there. Next up, episode 216. So breaking the Muay Thai plateau, one of the clearest examples of why long form matters. This wasn't about techniques. It was about psychology of a student, such as yourself. Expectations and ego. This episode, it retained listeners all the way through. So people listen through the whole entire episode, whether it be 20 minutes, 45 minutes, right? Episode 221, the US Muay Thai Open, changing amateur competition. This was a structural episode. I had Thiago on here in the studio. There's no hype, no drama. It's a real look at amateur Muay Thai from somebody who is doing it themselves. All right. It's coming from the horse's mouth. This is coming from one of the promoters for one of the bigger tournaments in the United States for amateur Muay Thai through US Muay Thai Open. Talked about the evolution, kind of where they see it going as well, and how they can see it growing. All right. And what still needs fixing at the end of the day. So 2025 wasn't just about conversations also. It was about people. One of the biggest shifts in 2025 is that the podcast stopped just being a voice in your headphones. All right. It became a place where people walked into. We had our Teep Studio before, but now we have more of like the Black Room setup, right? Black Room at Teep Studios. Shout out to all the Black Room subscribers as well. We got about 11 of them right now. I appreciate all 11 of you. All right. So real quick plug. If you've been listening to the Muay Thai podcast and you find value, entertainment, you enjoy it, get in on the Black Room. You're going to freaking love it. All right. I have a lot of stuff in store for 2026. All right. So some guests that came to the Academy this year also, we had Onion Topic that came into the Academy this year. We had multiple guests that didn't just call in as well. All right. They came to Muay Thai, to the Muay Thai Academy in Ventura. They met our staff. They saw our kids' classes in motion. They watched how our adults actually train. And they saw the systems, the culture, and the day-to-day reality of running a Muay Thai Academy. And that mattered too, because a lot of the people that talk about Muay Thai gyms, very few actually stand on the mats. Like there's a lot of Muay Thai influencers that are out there that have never actually set foot on like running a business on their own and investing from their own pocket into it. All right. There's some Muay Thai influencers who had it, that got backed by people. All right. They got funded from people, which is great. Not hating on them, but not a lot of people started from zero like we did. And very few stand on the mats and observe the class like this too. Several guests commented off mic that the biggest surprise wasn't just the training, it was the structure, how staff communicated, and how beginners are onboarded, and how our culture is enforced without ego, the friendliness of everybody in the academy. And those moments changed the tone of the conversations that we had as well. They weren't theoretical anymore. All right. We weren't just talking in theory about programming, about business. All right. People could actually see it in person. And our Pu'u Muay Thai Ventura staff actually became part of the story in 2025 here on the podcast. Our staff became visible voices. We had Coach Finney, we had Coach Isaiah, we had Coach Zach, we had Crew Ed, we had our program director Glory. We had all these people. They're not just background characters, right? We talk about them all the time, little segments that have come in, but now you're able to connect with them. The assistant instructors, the senior coaches, leadership team, they weren't there to just posture and say, oh, I'm a coach here at Pu'u Muay Thai. All right. Coming from the guy that's wearing a freaking elephant shirt and elephant pants. But they're there to explain, how the classes actually run, how safety decisions get made, how standards are maintained day after day, and why Muay Thai culture, has to be modeled and not marketed. Like why we do this, right? We had an instance of a kid who didn't know the Pledge of Allegiance, but knew how to say Sawadi Kap and pay respect to people, which I think is hilarious. Okay. So that gave listeners, something rare. It gave them insight, such as yourself, into our functioning academy ecosystem. It's not a brand highlight. We have an actual working model. We've been around now 11 years. And I just want to give a special shout out to everybody in our academy, my team that makes that possible, because without them, none of this would be possible. All right. And this is what clips really can't show. If you only listen to short clips, you would have missed, how decisions are debated and the behind the scenes at the academy. We talked about a lot this year. Over the past year, you've seen the Eat, Sleep, Teach semi-contact. We talked about it here on the podcast. This is like on the podcast, we documented us building this platform for people. All right. And why certain rules exist, why consistency beats charisma every time. All right. That's why I'm showing up week after week here on the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast, and why leadership matters more than talent. These are all long form conversations. All right. They're not things that you can really get into the context of, a 15-second TikTok reel or an Instagram reel. All right. And the retention stats prove that people stayed for them. All right. You stayed. If you're listening to this, thank you. You're on here to be engaged in this conversation. All right. To be engaged. And also the expansion of the podcast studio. It's another major shift in 2025. We went from like more of an office to more of like a studio setup. And the expansion of the podcast studio itself has been awesome. We have the actual black room now. All right. And this wasn't about aesthetics, like a little bit, right? But it was about capability. All right. Here at the studio, we have a gym on site that's downstairs. We have like coffee, everything to kind of just hang out here and work. And this is something that allows me to continue to work with my team. I work remote for the academy and for marketing and stuff like that, and for here on the podcast. All right. And the studio became a place where in-person conversations could happen. People could hang out at the seat right next to me, or people could hang out. Guests could relax, right? Talked about the gym, talked about coffee, all that stuff. And we could have long form conversations where we could just breathe. We'd have video, audio, and social content could be captured intentionally. We have a whole setup. All right. And that expansion allowed the podcast to evolve without losing its core identity. All right. We started in the back closet of the Ventura Academy during classes and after classes. That's literally how we started, audio only. Now we have, we're in a small office, but it's much bigger than the broom closet at our first location in Ventura. So just having better conversations, and then we have a better container to package all in for you. So this is why it matters for the podcast as well. It matters for you because when the environment improves, the quality of honesty improves. People tend to open up a bit more. All right. They stay longer. They go deeper. And that showed up in the numbers. We didn't just have like spikes of listeners. We didn't have like gimmicks to get people to watch. We just had consistency. I had a little bit of clickbait, but that was from my friends' episodes, right? So with that said, I would like to say a special fuck you. Fuck you, Matt Lucas. And fuck you, Joe Comerford. Of course, I'm joking. I'm using that for you guys. So that way you go back and listen at the recap, okay? 2025 was a proof of concept year. Looking back, 2025 proved something really important for me, that this podcast works because it's connected to a real gym, to a real program, a real team. It's supported by real staff. It's not just me. Like if you're listening to this, the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast isn't just Jonathan Pu'u. It is the team behind it. I have myself at the front, founded the company, but everybody that is involved in running this ship couldn't do it without any of them. All right. It's grounded in real operations. All right. We have real ops that are going on, and it's accountable to real people. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. And that's why the audience grew steadily and instead of explosively. And honestly, I'll take that trade every time. I'm not about gimmicks. I'm about being authentic. All right. And the stats tell me that you wanted that depth as well. And here's what those numbers tell me. You didn't just chase after the views. Like I was saying, chasing the knockout, all right? Chasing after the clicks, chasing after the plays. You stayed for long form conversations, the nuanced opinions that we had, very niche opinions and uncomfortable truths. People who actually work in the sport as well. Like I had promoters, I had ring officials, I had all kinds of people on here. And the average listener didn't just download one episode. They came back here, and that's rare. All right. And that's intentional from all over the world. All right. So this is where the Bangkok Camo actually fits into this. This outfit is it's completely a joke. Okay. So the term Bangkok Camo came up because I was just in Bangkok, Thailand. I was at Ratchadamnern Stadium. I was watching the fights first night. And I look over and I see a guy wearing this shit. I'm like, man, this person looks like someone I know. It looks like Bobby Peak from Texas, from Ambush Muay Thai. Like, this looks like Bobby, but Bobby wouldn't wear a bucket hat with glasses and elephant pants and an elephant shirt. Like, no way in hell. Unless he's trying to, not be recognized by anybody and be low key. So I'm sitting there watching the fights. Shout out to Joe Comberford for the hookup on RWS, by the way. I was watching the fights and I kept looking over. I'm like, man, this has to be him. I saw him. Like, no, that can't be Bobby. And then eventually I saw him again. I just said, hey, Bobby, he turned over. Sure as shit is Bobby Peak in fucking Bangkok Camo. All right. So Bangkok Camo represents a stage where you've seen the surface and you're ready to go deeper. All right. Some people stay a tourist forever. They stay in this tourist fatigue forever and they think they know Muay Thai. All right. They go back home and say, I trained Muay Thai in Thailand. It's like, dude, you trained in Chiang Mai for an hour private lesson. Like, what's the level you went on? And, you're showing up in elephant pants and shit and you're being serious. But the thing is, some people stay long enough to learn and understand this joke. All right. And a few people take responsibility for how Muay Thai is represented in the sport. Of course, while having fun, right? This podcast is for that last group. All right. And this wasn't theory. We were there. So everything I just talked about, the culture, responsibility, depth, that didn't stay behind a microphone in 2025. We took it to Thailand twice, and that matters, right? So, which is why like I said, when we went to Thailand, it wasn't a disconnect. I didn't go there for just vacation, right? It was a continuation. And that's something that I really enjoy about doing what I do and getting to travel and network and connect with everybody, right? Keith Canton Gym, it's not tourism. This year we attended 2 training camps. Like, it's tourism, right? But we're there for training Muay Thai. At Keith Canton Gym in Bangkok, we did one in March and we did one in December. And we brought the podcast on the road with it. We did some little pieces of content that just kind of sprung up, wasn't planned. We didn't just have like a photo shoot camp. It's not a tourist checklist kind of thing. We had real training, real rounds, real structure in the same gym that you see on One Championship. They had one Friday night fight. They've created many Yad Moy. That's Fighter of the Year for those that don't know. The same gym tied back to conversations about standards, discipline, and longevity in the sport. I've seen the kids there grow up through time. They have one kid there now, Dao Dang, who I think is probably going to be fighting for the 115-pound title within the next year for One Championship. All right. So for a lot of people in our group, it made Muay Thai stop being just like a moment for them, an idea, and it became a lived experience. They're going to remember that for the span of their life, right? It's one of the reasons I always enjoy going to these camps and training with everybody. And that's why camps matter when they're done right. All right. So let's talk a little bit. Also, Matt Lucas, the business of Muay Thai. That was a great moment. All right. So we also did a piece that's going semi-viral right now, 2025, in collaboration with Matt Lucas at Matt Lucas Muay Thai. So on his platform, not ours, of course, focused specifically on the business of Muay Thai. We talked about going pro in 2026. All right. And this wasn't an accidental piece. Me and Matt, we met up, we talked about it in depth. All right. And Matt's been a part of these long form conversations before here on the podcast. He's been a guest on our podcast multiple times. So if you don't know who Matt Lucas is, go back, go listen to it. We've made predictions on the podcast that came true. On one of the episodes where we were in Santa Barbara, Muay Thai Santa Barbara, when we were recording it, we were insinuating about Smila Sundell becoming world champion. We didn't use her name, but we're saying this person's going to become One Championship world champion, probably going to be the youngest. Sure as shit, it happened. You heard it here first on the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast. All right. So it's not just service level motivational content. We talked about, what gym ownership looks like, why most people underestimate the overhead of what it takes to become a professional fighter, why passion alone doesn't always keep the doors open and doesn't keep your visa valid when you're in Thailand, right? And why Muay Thai needs smarter operators and not louder ones. And that piece hit because it was honest, has the same philosophy as this podcast, and it just delivered to a wider audience. All right. If you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend it. I'll just put my finger right here. My editor can go drop that in here so that way you can go listen to it. If you're listening or watch it on YouTube, if you're listening to this episode on the Pu'u Muay Thai Podcast, go look up Muay Thai Podcast on all platforms, Matt Lucas Muay Thai Podcast. You will see that episode. It's a good one. All right. So if you're thinking about going pro at all, we talked about staying in the USA or going to Thailand full-time, or a combination of both, and the financials behind it and what it actually takes. All right. Things that are going to cause you to fail right off the bat. Good piece of content. So next up, visiting Bruce Pontypool and Chonburi Muay Thai out in Pattaya, Thailand. We also spent time in Pattaya with them. All right. This last trip. Bruce has been here on the podcast before as well. He's not just a gym owner. He's from Chonburi, Thailand. It's right outside of Pattaya. All right. And he represents something important, bridging Muay Thai culture with international students without watering down Muay Thai. That's what he's doing. Seeing his team train, operate, and mentor fighters on the ground reinforce something that I said all year. The gyms doing it right aren't chasing hype. They're building systems, people, and standards. Bruce is also the promoter of the Eat, Sleep, Teach semi-contact platform in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you've been listening on the podcast for a while, you've probably seen Bruce be here on the podcast and where we talked about the Eat, Sleep, Teach semi-contact series as well. All right. So I want you to think about, hey, these guys are meeting up in Thailand, they're meeting up all over the country and stuff too. Maybe you can kind of connect the dots to see how we're moving as a unit for Muay Thai. All right. This is super cool to see it happen. And I'm stoked to be able to document it and share it with you and see how we're actually trying to take this sport and give it some more legs. There's a lot of legs that are in the United States, but not a lot of them are moving at a pace that is going to help grow it. So more people move in the sport, the better it's going to do, right? And that trip tied everything together. This past trip in December tied everything together. The podcast conversations, the stats, the global audience. This wasn't theory anymore. I had somebody come up to me like, hey, you're Jonathan from the Pu'u Muay Thai Podcast. I had people come up to me in Thailand and say this. I'm like, hey, yeah, it's nice to meet you. Super humbling, right? Didn't expect that. But it's confirmation that the people listening from Bangkok, Melbourne, London, and Ventura, you're not just consuming content, you're living it. All right. And I'm seeing you out there in the wild. All right. So when I talk about Bangkok Camo, this isn't cosplay. All right. It's what it looks like when you first show up the first time. But put in the time and stop pretending Muay Thai is just like a highlight reel thing, putting it on the platform. It's very important to understand like what Muay Thai is in Thailand, outside of Thailand, and everything in between. All right. So look past all the goofy shit and see a sport for what it is. All right. It is a people sport. Yes, it is a meat grinder, but it's a sport that we love. And we're all just a bunch of fucking nerds that love this stuff. All right. So if 2025 was the year of context, and then 2026 has to be the year of responsibility, better education, better standards, better leadership, and better conversations for you. So if you're still wearing Bangkok Camo in 2026, I hope it's because you stayed long enough to learn that something real about Muay Thai. Thank you for listening, and thank you for showing up for the whole conversation here on the Pu'u Muay Thai Podcast. This is the Pu'u Muay Thai Podcast in 2025. So let's get back to work. 2026, I'm looking forward to seeing every single one of you and all on the broadcast as well for the Pu'u Muay Thai Podcast. It's been a great year. Like I said, could not do it without our team at Pu'u Muay Thai. Every single one of you, all the students, anybody that buys merch. If you want to support, buy stuff, great. Go join the Black Room. That's the best way to get your finger on the pulse of Muay Thai, literally on the pulse of Muay Thai. Link is all down in the show notes. If you're listening to this, also down in the show notes as well. With that said, I'll see you next year. Swadee Kap.